Hey friends, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm. Today we're in the kitchen and we are getting ready to take these peaches and turn them into peach pie filling that we're going to can and put on our shelves. So if you want to see how we do peach pie filling, stick around. Thanks everybody for sticking around. Before we get started today, I just want to say I really appreciate all of my subscribers and anybody who is commenting and liking and sharing this video or any of my videos. I really do appreciate it and I love hearing from you. I've got some of the nicest subscribers that I could ask for. Such wonderful, kind comments and compliments. So I really appreciate that. I wanted to make sure I said that first today. And I hope everyone is doing really well. Today is Saturday. It is the middle of September and it's a dry day. It's a beautiful day, but it is dry. We're hoping for some rain. Luckily, we're at the end of our garden, so everything out there is doing fine right now. And we just will harvest as things ripen. I've got so much on my pantry shelves and in my freezer that I feel very blessed with everything I've gotten so far. So any additional is just icing on the cake. So I am going to share with you today a recipe for making peach pie filling. Now I was at a Mennonite store a couple of days ago, and I wasn't planning on buying peaches. I had decided I wasn't going to do anything with peaches this year since I had other stuff that I had on my plate and that I needed to get done. But they had a bushel for just $10 and they looked really good, but they were very firm, and I figured they weren't great eating peaches, but I think they're going to be great for canning, for jellies and jams, and for pie fillings. And after peeling and slicing and getting things ready, I think I'm right. These were baby golds, and I couldn't put them in boiling water to slip the skins off. I had to peel them, which is fine because that's usually what I do anyway. And they are a cling peach, so it is a little trickier to slice them, but you know, it was fine. So far I've done about half a bushel and I've got this bowl full. I'm going to be measuring it out to see how much I need for my pie filling, and then the rest I'll be making other things with. So I thought I'd bring you along for the pie filling because I know everyone really liked the cherry pie filling recipe that I shared, and I was hoping that maybe you would be interested in this one too. Cherry pie fillings are great to have on your pantry shelf because there's so many things you can be doing with them. And once I get through with this canning season, I'll be using those pie fillings for things other than pies. Of course, I'll be using them for pies, but there's a lot of other yummy desserts and things that you can use these pie fillings for, and I'll be sharing those recipes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a big pan because I'm going to be making a 7-quart recipe. So it's going to make 7 quarts. And I got this recipe. This is just the recipe that is from the National Center of Home Food Preservation. And I'll share the link down below and you can pull it up. It's for peach pie filling. Now, anytime you're canning a pie filling, it is not recommended that you use flour or cornstarch or any other thickener except for clear gel. And the reason that is that clear gel will hold its consistency under the temperatures and the shelf life, and you will have a better product. I know probably 20 years ago, I did can some pie fillings, not knowing any better, and I don't even know if clear gel was that popular yet, and I used flour. And I remember they really chunked up in the jar and they weren't very appealing to the eye. And I don't think those recipes probably were tested. They were fine, we ate them, but it wasn't a product to be really proud of. But this clear gel recipe and the ones that you will find for making pie fillings using clear gel are always very good, and they come out very nice and they look really good in the jars and in a pie. So if you don't know what clear gel is a type of cornstarch, but it's just made differently. It's a thickener. And a lot of people complain because you can't buy clear gel at Walmart or grocery stores unless it's a special order. You can buy it on Amazon. It is expensive on Amazon. If you have any Mennonite or bulk food stores in your area, that is the place to get it. And you can even go online and order it probably from some of those places, because it is much more inexpensive at one of those places. And that's where I get mine. So for this recipe, we are going to be needing I gotta put my glasses on because I can't read this small writing. We are going to be needing 6 quarts of sliced fresh peaches. We're going to need 7 cups of granulated sugar. We're going to be needing 2 cups and 3 tablespoons of clear gel, 5 1/4 cups of cold water, a teaspoon of cinnamon is optional, a teaspoon of almond extract is optional, and then we need bottled lemon juice, 1 3/4 cup. Do not use fresh squeezed, because the acidity of fresh squeezed lemon juice can be different depending on the lemons you're using. So always use bottled, and it does need to be, I was thinking it needs to be 5% if it says on here. Let's look. It does need to be from a concentrate and 100% lemon juice. And so like real lemon and then the store's off brands, that is the lemon juice you want to use. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the thickening part of our pie filling starting to cook. And while we're doing that, we're going to be blanching our peaches. So in our bowl, or in our big pot, we are going to need to put the 7 cups of sugar, and I've got it measured out already. And what you want to do is you want to put the sugar and the clear gel together first without the water, because you want to mix those together. That way you won't have as much clumping. So into the sugar, we're going to add the 2 cups and 3 tablespoons of clear gel. And then you want to stir those 2 ingredients together. Now, if you were to put the clear gel directly in the water, it would probably kind of float, and it would probably also have some lumps. They do work out. I found they will work out when you're cooking, but when you mix the sugar and the clear gel together, it makes it so much easier to stir it in. I don't know if you can see the smoke, actually the powder, but we're going to get that mixed together. Okay. Then we're going to add the 5 1/4 cups of cold water. And I'm going to add just part of it first. And that also helps reducing those lumps. And that just kind of makes a slurry, kind of the consistency of a pancake batter. And that way it helps to get all of it mixed in. And you got to get the corners around the edges of that pan. That dry stuff likes to hide in there. And then once you have that slurry mixed together, it's real easy to incorporate the water. There we go. Okay, so that is ready. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and we are going to put it on our stovetop And we are going to cook it and stir it because it's going to want to start to clump up on the bottom. And if you don't continually stir it and scrape the bottom, you will get some scorching and you will get it to be lumpy. So I'm going to put this over there, and I'm not going to put it on a high temperature. I'm going to put it on a medium low because while it's getting heated up, I'm going to be blanching my peaches right next to it. That way I can get both things done at the same time. So I'll bring the camera over and let you see this, but what I'm going to do is I've got a big pot of boiling water over there, and it says place 6 cups at a time in a gallon boiling water. Boil each batch for 1 minute after the water comes back to a boil. Drain, but keep heated fruit in a covered bowl or pot. Combine water, sugar, clear gel, and if desired, cinnamon and or almond extract in a large kettle. Now, I'm gonna wait and put the seasonings in at the end. And the lemon juice you have to wait also. Stir and cook over medium-high heat until the mixture thickens and begins to bubble. Again, I'm going to keep it on medium-low just while I get this blanched, and that way I can keep an eye on it and get this blanched, and then I'll bring it up to a higher temperature after this is done. That way I can kind of keep both things going at the same rate. And once the mixture starts to thicken and bubble, we're going to do the lemon juice and the seasonings, and then we'll be adding the fruit. So I'll bring you over to the stove and we will get this started. Okay, I've got my pan over here. You can't see it right now, but it's just over here and I've just turned it on. I also want to tell you, make sure you have your jars ready because you're going to be busy with this and stirring this, and so as soon as this is done, you want to be able to get it right into the jars. It's really important that you put your pie filling in really hot because when you are canning this, and we are going to use our steam canner, you can use a water bath as well, but when you're canning this, you want that heat to be able to penetrate all the way through, and if it's cooled down, you run the risk of it not getting all the way through, and then you will have spoilage on your pie filling. So keep everything really hot when you are canning it, since this is such a thick filling. All right, and right here I've measured out my fruit here. That was 6 quarts of peaches, and I've got my water boiling right. Okay, it says for us to take 6 cups of our fruit at a time, which is about 1/3 of our peaches. Put them into the boiling water, bring it back to a boil for 1 minute, strain it out, and put it into a covered bowl or pan. And I'll just use a stainless steel bowl and get a towel to go over it. So let's get started with that. This is boiling rapidly. And you'll want to have some kind of a strainer. So I am just going to eyeball about 1/3, and you want to have this on high because it's going to go off of a boil here when this is introduced. But if you have it on high heat, it will come back quickly. Okay, those peaches are in there. They are getting boiled. I'm going to put the lid on because that seems to help it come back to a boil. And I see it bubbling a little around there, so we're just about back to a boil. I'm gonna give this a stir over here. Again, I have it on medium-low, so I'm just kind of babysitting it while I'm doing this. My jars are in the hot water in the sink, staying hot. Okay, that looks good. We've got just about a bubble. Let me just push these down and stir them around a little bit. Just about there. Just about. Okay. believe, yeah, we got some boiling going on here now. And we're going to turn that on for 1 minute. Keep the lid on it. Okay, there's our minute. And I'm going to be putting it in this stainless steel bowl. So I'll switch this one up here. And we will pull these out. And what we're doing is we're getting them hot so that when we put them in the thickened sauce, it will heat up a lot quicker. So we're going to put these peaches in. We're going to do another bit, and we're going to take about half of these. Get those back to a boil. Okay, so our peaches have all been blanched for 1 minute, and blanching helps to swell up the fruit and heat it through. That way you won't have as much expansion when they go into the jars and are being processed, and you won't have as much of the siphoning. So we want to keep those hot because it will also make sure that our pie filling is really hot when we put it in the jars. So let's just get this. Now, I know you can't see this very well. Let me see if I can raise it up. Okay, that's what our filling is looking like right now. And there's a few little clear, and you can see right there, little clear globs here and there from the bottom of the pan. Just really be careful with stirring this and keeping it going. It does want to stick to the bottom, and you don't want that to happen. If you have a pan that doesn't scratch, like this enamel one, I like to take like a spatula and just go back and forth on the bottom. That helps clean that bottom, especially as it's getting to the stage of thickening. Now, I have been keeping this, these are on my big burners, but I've been keeping these on medium-low, and it's thickening up very fast. I would not recommend putting it on medium-high like they say, unless your burner is just not as hot, because, unless you have a thick-bottomed pot, because this is thickening up very quickly and you need to keep it stirred, otherwise you're going to get it scorching. So it's thickening up. You'll know it's completely thickened when it turns clear, or I should say translucent. It won't be perfectly clear because it'll have a little bit of color to it. Thickening up pretty quickly right now. And so what we're going to do, as soon as this thickens, we're going to be adding our lemon juice and our flavorings. So it is starting to bubble, and it is getting very thick. It is still creamy colored, so it's not quite completely cooked. But I'm going to go ahead, it says once it bubbles, go ahead and add your lemon juice, and I think that lemon juice will thin it out a little bit to help it get a little more clear, but right now, this is what you have, very thick. So we've got our 1 3/4 cups of lemon juice that we're adding. We're gonna stir that in. And I'm also going to add a pinch of salt. I like to add that to my pie fillings. It just kind of brings out some of the flavor. Need to refill my salt jar. Right now we've got lemon meringue pie. The lemon, the clear gel, and the sugar. This would taste like lemon meringue pie. That is good. Need a few egg yolks and you'd have a great pie. Now when I tasted that, I do still have a little bit of powdery taste. That tells me it has not completely cooked. And I know the peaches will have some water when they've been sitting in the bowl. They are probably losing some of their water. So that will be also thinning this out a little bit. I just want to make sure. We don't want to put this in the jars not fully cooked, because then what you're going to have is you're going to have a major siphoning issue, because they will swell up. One other thing that I like to do when I'm making pie fillings, I give more than a 1-inch headspace. I find that when I just do 1-inch headspace, it does tend to have a little siphoning. And with this thick pie filling, that's not always good because it can keep it from sealing. And I'm going to go ahead and get the spices and the almond, and we're going to add that. Now, if you need to walk away from this very long, you need to remove it from the burner because it will scorch fast. So it called for a teaspoon of almond. You could even use vanilla if you liked that. I love that almond smell. And we're going to add about a teaspoon of cinnamon. Again, both of these were optional. Remember, when canning, seasonings, dry seasonings are all fine to adjust to your liking. Okay, now this is getting very thick. You are going to have mussels after finishing this. So I think I'm at the point where I am going to add, it says once you add the lemon juice, you need to boil for 1 minute longer. And it's been boiling here. It's just so thick, you can't see the bubbles popping up. And then we're going to add the fruit, and then it wants us to boil it or cook it for 3 more minutes. Okay, so mine's not quite as translucent as I like, but it's getting there. I'm hoping that when I add the peaches, that will take care of it. So I've got them covered up right here. I'm going to turn this down for just a second. Again, I've kept it on medium-low, and it has been just fine. If I turned it up much more, I think I would have had some scorching issues. These are still very hot. Blanching them helps them get hot all the way through, which helps make sure that this is a very hot product when you put it in the jars. It also plumps them up so that you don't have as much I don't know, growth of the peaches or expansion of the peaches in the jars when you're canning them, which can also cause siphoning. So we got those, and I had some liquid here. I'm just going to add just a little bit of that, but not much. Just a little bit. I think I had probably a quarter cup. And if we need more, I can add more, but I think these will let off quite a bit of liquid. So I'm hoping you can see that somewhat. We got quite a bit of steam coming up. Again, I've got it on low. And you probably now see why I have this big pot. I don't think I could stir it in a smaller pot. It would be all over the place. So we are going to heat this for at least 3 minutes, and I'm going to see if I can get it to clear up. That clear gel, clear. So I'm heating it up just a tiny bit, still below medium. Now, everybody's stoves are different, so you find the temperature on your stove that works for you. And one thing about these peaches, you know, even though they weren't the greatest eating peaches because they were firm, they are really good for pie fillings and canning because they hold their shape. And when heated, they do let off their juices and their flavors. I'm going to add a little more of that juice. This is very thick still, which is fine. So I added about another quarter cup or a third cup maybe, just to see if we can get that to clear up a little bit. We are still under our 3 minutes, and you could cook it longer. It's just going to be a more cooked product. That was 3 minutes. Add just a little more of that juice. I'm just going to add the rest of it. It looks like it's going to be plenty thick. Okay, I think you can see that we are now getting a translucent filling. We do want that to be translucent. If you don't get it translucent, you will have problems. It will continue to swell as it thickens in the jar, and you will have siphoning. So you want to make sure that that does become translucent. And again, with these peaches, they aren't falling apart, they're holding their shape, so it is working really well. If you had a peach that was too juicy, too tender, it would probably be mush. All right. Now, if you were to want to add any food coloring, you could. I never do. I don't care to have food coloring in my food. I think it's pretty just the way it is. But you can do what you'd like. All right, I'm turning off the heat. Here's what our product looks like. Isn't that pretty? So that is our peaches. I need to real quickly get this in the jars. So I will move you over to the counter and we'll start. All right, I think we've got our workout today. Getting some arms here. So we've got it all ready to go in. I have 7-quart jars here. And I'm using wide mouth just because it's easier to get the peaches in and out. You can use wide mouth or small mouth, it doesn't matter. We are going to fill them to within a 1-inch headspace. I am actually going to go a little lower. Remember, just like we did earlier, make sure that clear gel is transparent, otherwise it's going to continue to swell in the jars. So that's one of the things that I've learned through my many years of canning filling, that this works if you make sure that you have it clear and you give it just a little bit more headspace. So let's see, I grabbed the wrong funnel. Let me grab my other one. Okay, got this funnel. This will work just fine. So if you watched my other video on making cherry pie filling, you know that the steps from here are the same. We're just filling our jars. And the one thing that we need to do with this is to make sure we debubble, because this is a very thick filling and this one will tend to trap air and make air bubbles in there. So we do want to make sure we debubble good. So I'm going to fill them up and then let them kind of settle, and then I'll come back by and debubble and then top them off if I need to. And try to get the same ratio of peaches and filling in each jar. Whoops, there I am making a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and get these filled, and then I'll bring you back when we put the lids on. Okay, I've got them filled, and I did go ahead and debubble, and I want to show you when you debubble these, you want to look at the outside of the jar too, just to make sure that you don't see any bubbles around the edges. And you can push in and out like this, go around the outside edge. And then another thing that I do is I just kind of do this and shake it a little bit. That way, if there's anything in there, it might force it up. So I've done that to all of my jars. Now I just need to clean them up because this is very messy. And I'm going to get a paper towel. Okay, so I've got my paper towel and I'm dipping it into a vinegar, a white vinegar, and I am going to wipe the rims very carefully because there is stuff on them. And I'm also feeling for any cracks or pieces that are bumps on there, making sure we don't have any problems with that rim. So let me get these cleaned off good. And you want to work quickly. These are still very hot. You want to keep them hot. This is one thing that you really want to be careful with, of keeping hot. It will preserve better and you'll be safer with your product because it is very thick, and to make sure that that heat gets all the way through to a certain temperature is important. I do have my steam canner going. It is going to be ready when these jars are ready to go in. If you're doing water bath, you probably should have had that going a little bit ago. The water takes a while to get up to boiling, but the steam canners are great. If you want to see me doing a more detailed canning with a steam canner, I think I do a little more with the cherry pie filling, but other canning videos I probably show a little more and talk a little bit more about it. But if you are thinking of getting a steam canner, I really encourage you to do so. I think you will be really, really happy with it. I haven't heard of anybody that has regretted it. Just so much easier. Okay, so we got these. And remember, we did not need to have these jars sterilized. They are going to be sterilized in the processing, and the lids just need to be cleaned in sudsy water and rinsed well. So everything was clean, but not sterilized. And then fingertip tight on your bands. And if you find one that's not going down very well, get you another one. Sometimes they get warped a little bit or rusty, and just throw those away and get you another one. All right, these are ready to go in. And sometimes I back off and just make sure they're down. Okay, these are ready to go in. We are going to process them. I'll grab my directions here. We are going to process at my altitude, which is below 1,000 feet, for 30 minutes. So both pints and quarts are 30 minutes. So mine will hold 7 jars. I just had a little bit of filling left, enough probably to just have, just to eat some. I'll put it in the refrigerator and do something with it, or we'll just eat it. But it was pretty close to 7 quarts. So these are ready to go. I hope you are able to try this recipe, and if not this recipe, maybe another pie filling recipe. I'll probably be doing apple pie filling here when our next batch of apples come ripe, but it's so nice to have this on your shelf. So thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day. Remember, if you like my videos, please consider subscribing. That helps me out so much. Also commenting and sharing and liking. I would appreciate any of that. So have a great day. I hope you have a chance to come back and see the next thing that we're going to be cooking. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's going to be great. See you soon.